Welcome to AliNICOLE WOW. She writes and speaks it all. I am AliNICOLE WOW, author of over 300 works on Amazon and the host of over 700 blogs. And I do have several speaking products and speaking platforms as well. Today, I want to speak with authors and speakers about making the shift from just being an author and or a speaker and being a communications-preneur and setting up communication-preneurial empires. You really have to be a marketing communications-preneur empire in order to be effective. Now, the reason why this is important is because I'm just going to be honest. Being an author and being a speaker, there's not a lot of impact and income on a grander scale just by being in those frameworks. You really have to be in the business of being a communicator, all right? So being a communicator, a communicationspreneur, is multi-leveled, is multi-layered in how you can show up in your unique expression through writing, through speaking, through artistry, multiple means of who you are as a communicator, right? So you have to really think, as they say, outside the box, so to speak. I would just say abandon the box, demolition the box, and truly step into being an empire within yourself that leverages writing and speaking. But it really has to be in a preneurial framework. I teach and train on this subject in terms of people being writingpreneurs and even speakingpreneurs, so to speak, but really bringing it all into the framework of being a communicationspreneur, because that's what it is. And if you want to dominate in your industry and really stand out as a brand, you have to be thinking in terms of having a communications empire. So what could that look like, right? So if you're a blogger and you are an author and you are a speaker, having a framework that encompasses all of that. And let me just say this before I move forward, because I know several are going to say, well, but see, I have that. I have on my website, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, book me for this, work with me, I do consulting, X, Y, and Z. But again, the vibration and the framework that it's under is just, oh, I'm an author and I'm a speaker. And it looks like because you have a website and because you can get paid for these services that you have, that, well, I am in business. But again, it has to be under a different vibration in terms of really being in business, because those titles within themselves don't mean business. They just mean, oh, you're an author, or you're a speaker. There are plenty of authors who are broke and don't sell books. There are plenty of writers who write and their writing is not profitable. There are plenty of speakers, but it doesn't mean that they are profitable from what they're doing. Why is this? In the older paradigm, sure, you could get away with that. We're in a different climate, if you will, in terms of the business framework, and especially with the online space. You have to be in the preneurial vibration. So again, don't just be an author and a speaker, have a communications-preneurial empire. Now, can you still leverage those titles? Absolutely, definitely, because you are an author, you are a speaker. I'm not saying that you have to go and communicate. I'm an authorpreneur, I'm a speakerpreneur, like in your titles. Of course, I do use those titles for myself. But there are times where I'm still just saying, yes, I'm an author and I'm a speaker. But my empire is set up as a communications-preneurial empire. So that is what I am in the business of doing, of expressing, delivering my value in these different formats, right? So for me, there's three different levels of what I leverage because I feel commissioned to communicate. And that's a teaching and a training and a program that I have. And within that training and those programs, I teach about the three levels of the communications factor. So yes, there is the speaking aspect, right? There is the writing aspect in various formats. Then there is the beingness. And see, when you have a communications-preneur empire, that is the beingness of your unique expression, leveraging authorpreneurship and speakingpreneurship, leveraging those different elements and aspects of your giftings. So that's just something that I want you to think about in terms of your empire. Again, I'm not saying today, don't go out and start using these terminologies in a sense. It is about the embodiment because you need to embody it and try it on for size and start moving within that type of new flow before you start trying to go out and promote yourself in these ways. No, you need to build yourself up in this way, just knowing that you are building a communications-preneurial empire and figuring out the best ways for you to go about setting up those types of structures. So something I'm going to offer to you right now, invite you, I should say, is into a time of being present to maybe extract some of the inner wisdom of what could be right for you. So one thing about me, if you aren't familiar with my brand, as it relates to how I write in the different formats, I mainly publish in intentional journal style formats where I am not providing a lot of information. So it's low content publications, but providing trigger mechanics and journal prompts for people to be able to extract out their own inner brilliance. So they're not inundated with so much information, because that's one of the main problems. Another reason why people stall or they can't even move forward when they're trying is because they have so much information coming at them. They really don't know their own voice, right? Not even their own marketing message, because they're trying to can it and filter it through what they see. But when you are able to get present, then you can start to pull some of those answers out for yourself. So let's take about 3 deep breaths, and then I'm going to invite you into the space to do that. So I invite you into those 3 deep breaths now. Okay. So I want you to ask yourself, I'm curious to know how I can make the shift into authorpreneurship and speakingpreneurship as a communicationspreneur. So just take a few moments and sit with that question of intent in a sense. And of course, you can take longer to be with this. I normally recommend that people ask a question like this at least 3 times and see what comes up for you, right? So you can be present with asking in terms of the authorpreneurship or the writingpreneurship or the publishingpreneurship, and then from the speaking aspect, the entrepreneurial framework as it relates to you being a speaker, and then come back and ask the question in terms of the communications empire, communications-preneurial empire within itself, how you should get started with that. So ask it in these 3 different categories, so to speak. So I know I'm just inviting you and introducing that, during this time. Again, you can take more time to get those answers for yourself. As you can see, I'm not necessarily trying to give you some type of structure to get started with. I want you to pull out your own wisdom. And of course, if you need some help and you need some assistance, then I'm definitely available for that. And I'll have also other coaches who are part of my team that can assist with that, but also have resources and other things around that. And you'll find that information in within the description. So I just wanted to come and talk about this because it's very important that you understand within your mind the shifts that need to be made. It probably answers some questions for you in terms of, well, that's probably why I'm not being as successful as I could be as a writer and as a speaker, because I'm not really showcasing the full range of my communications ability, right? Because once you start priming the pump in this way, then other opportunities, other profitable aha moments are going to come to you of how you can actually be more profitable in terms of a business framework. So that involves high-end consulting and maybe shifting the way that you publish. Maybe instead of just publishing traditional books, in a sense, you're publishing curriculums, and maybe the way that you are going about with your speaking engagements, maybe you're changing that up. All right. Maybe you're doing some high-end speaking masterminds. And so you just never know. But you have to be thinking in terms, again, of the communications-preneur aspect in the empire framework. All right. So instead of continuing to go on and on about this, because one thing I can do is I can start breaking off into trainings and be extremely generous with a lot of content and sharing different things. But again, today, I just wanted you to be present with these questions for yourself and just start thinking. So just wanted to do a little bit of disruption for those who maybe have not been thinking in this way, so that you can make some slight adjustments in your thinking, and that certainly can change the game. All right, so I look forward to coming back and sharing more on this topic soon. Have a great day.